a very fascinating country, rich in culture, in people, and everything else that you can imagine. But what does it actually mean to many of us when we hear this word? Is it anime? Is it technology? Or maybe it's food? In reality, Japan is an amalgamation of all of that. Everything, because people are what create the culture in a country. Obviously, it evolves, it changes, but nevertheless, let's delve deeper into the depths of our interesting country of Japan. And here you have the wonderful city of Hiroshima rebuilt in present moment day. A big thing of Japan that everyone's familiar with is the anime. These animes that everyone watched, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, a lot of it comes from Japan. Not only that, but it also has great values that we can learn from. When it comes to adversity, there's always some hero, and this is what always inspired me to watch these cartoons. That's why also I love Japan, because of these animes. You know, it inspires me to live life to the fullest every day. Another thing that really surprised me in Japan is the kindness and politeness. They're taught from a very young age that being polite is a sign of harmoniously. So the individual is not as big as the team itself. So the reality is Japanese are ready, you know, to give you the big piece of cake, put you first place in the photo, you know, to be respectful to each other. And that's a really, really strong aspect I find in Japan. It's crazy that you drop something and someone will pick it up and give it to you if it fell, or nobody would steal it. If it's not yours, you don't take it. Just because it's not chained doesn't mean it's yours. Very strong ethic when it comes to discipline and respect and harmony and politeness. Something that you don't see in every country every day. Since they are children and kids, they are taught to do this from a very young age. So it's really normal that you encounter this really polite and kind attitude. The individual is not above the society, but it's the team that matters. It's the society itself. Now, let's talk about economy, because both the economy of a country can have both beneficial and devastating consequences on its people. Obviously, we always want prosperity, but that's not always the case how things turn out in the real world. After having lost the war against the Allies, Japan slowly, instead of becoming a superpower, it started to rise slowly to become a world economic and technological superpower. And let me explain you why and how and what are the consequences of it. When I was in Japan, it was really interesting to see how everyone was working so effectively and so disciplined in almost anything that they did, whether it's bakery, making coffee. I was just impressed. Why is that? So how did they rise to become the superpower? So they have a strong work and ethic discipline, right? And there's a big emphasis on that since they're children, and it's permeated in almost every sectors of society. Now there's quality and innovation. It became renowned for its commitment to quality and continuous improvement. And obviously by delivering high products with innovative features, well, you gain a reputation in the world. But at the expense of what? As mentioned earlier, the Japanese have a very hard work ethic, but does this hard work necessarily mean that you're productive 8 hours a day? They might work long hours, but doesn't necessarily mean that during all these hours they're super productive. It even has a very, very bad effect. In 2017, Miwa Sado, a 31-year-old journalist, suffered from heart failure after literally working herself to death by clocking in overtime for 159 hours. So this brutal office culture is intertwined with collectivist culture. Remember when I mentioned that, you know, the community is more important, and if you go against community rules and regulation, then that is frowned upon, also punishable. This can also result in poor health and, you know, suicidal tendencies. And despite the effort to increase this, you know, to actually reform this bill, which was in 2018, change is still slow, you know. According, just in Japan alone, the World Health Organization study found that 745,000 people died from overworking in 2016. So this isn't BS. This is actually crazy. That's just one of the consequences that it can have on the people when it comes to, you know, super hard work, right? And even for those who have good jobs, these jobs can be really brutal because they often don't have time to date, do anything but work, just sleep and eat. And many are so stressed they can barely function, you know. This is like the dark side of the Japanese economy nowadays. And if you complain about hard work, you're pretty much frowned upon. So you're expected to work long hours and not say anything about it. And when, you know, these things happen, you burn out, well, the prospects of getting married just become lower and lower when you don't have stable jobs or you burn out. And I don't know what's going on, but that's how it is around the world nowadays. It's unfortunate and we have to fight for it somehow. Enough about economy, let me introduce you more about how I enjoy Japan and places to visit. This where I am right now is Nara Park. It's very popular. It's outside of Osaka, not far. It's like a zoo, it's like a park, but these animals are on the streets, outside. It's a very normal And if you dwell further into the park, you will notice beautiful sceneries like here. Yes, it's hot, but when it's hot, that's why I decided to go back to get myself a nice, refreshing beer.
Here we have like a small plaza, but I want to show you something since I'm a big beer lover.
What I like the most about it is the wide selection of local artisanal handmade beer. It's a really wide selection. You can choose a lot from. It's one of the biggest things that I like in Japan. The moment I tried it, it was such a creamy, rich wheat texture because my neighbor next to me that I'm talking to right now recommended. Oh my god, that was like one of the best beers I had in Japan at Nara. I hope you guys try it too. Wow, it was amazing. Now I traveled back to Osaka and I decided to go eat something new. It's called an okonomiyaki. It's pretty much Japanese omelet made of noodles. I could tell you quite right away that the texture of these noodles in Osaka is quite special. As I put it in my mouth, they melt. The wheat, so dense, so good, so delicious. It's unbelievable. I really recommend to try this sort of meal. On the next day, I decided to travel to the Fushimi Inari temple, you know, to spread my grandpa's ashes, and this is in Kyoto. Man, don't travel to Japan during summer. I don't recommend it. It's so hot, it's unbelievable. And here, this is where I almost arrive at the top. As you can see, it's a really marvelous view, but Jesus, it's a tropical weather, man. It wasn't easy. I mean, it's doable. It's just, you know, it's hot. Better sunscreen, drink a lot of water, because I got a really bad sunburn afterwards, you know. Yeah, I'm just like, you know, showing off the view. There are lots of people. On the other side, there's actually two tops. There's one there's almost nothing, and the other one there's like a sort of like a. And here we have the Kyoto Aikendo Temple. I don't know why I went there, but it was still fun to visit. It's interesting, peaceful. You can see a lot of monks. You just can't take photos, pictures ever. Just, you know, be careful. It's worth a visit. Yes, here we are again, back at the famous Osaka Bridge. Yeah, it's very popular. You could see that runner. I don't know why it's popular, but it's fun.
Live from Sakimoto Cafe. Look at this. Nice. Very green. I guess it's just people take their time to eat. There's not a lot of people saying. Good. Well, let's enjoy. I added a croissant and French toast with coffee. Latte, man. You know, these hidden gems in Japan, I find them pretty dope. It's another cafe. Yes, there's Marufuku, and today is Sakimoto.